By now, I'm sure that you get the general idea of how configurable the environment is. So let's go ahead and move on to configuring your project. In order to configure your project, you should just click on the project file that's up here and select it. And then, of course, you would want to go ahead and right mouse click on it. And then you can come all the way down here to the bottom where it says Properties, and you can click on that. And what you'll be presented with is a Console Application 1 Properties page. Now take a look at what's going on the left-hand side of the document. Basically what you have is a series of tabs, and as you kind of go through here, you can affect the application, the build events, debug, reference paths and copybooks and the like. So let's go ahead and start with application. Again, here we have our assembly name and the default namespace, and you'll learn more about the default namespace as we start moving forward. The output type is a console application. It could be a standard Windows application or a class library. Windows application and console applications are assemblies that are created, and they'll actually be created in the form of a standard exe file. The class library is always going to be a DLL. So I'll go ahead and make that a console application. And of course, this also tells you what the startup project is, or the startup object is going to be. You also have the ability to affect what kind of icon is associated with your particular Windows application. When we go to build, one of the things that I think is really important is you can look at the configuration, and this in particular says I'm in the active debug configuration. And of course, as you go through and start looking at some of the things like output path, this will change as you go through and change your configuration. The platform is set up for any CPU, and you have the ability to target your CPU. Right now we're just looking at any CPU. If I went ahead and changed this over to release, notice this changes over to release. Again, all of the assemblies would be placed in that subdirectory when we start working with it. So we're going to see that here in just a few minutes. This next one is additional options. Additional options are your compiler directives. So you see this /wc:. All of your compiler directives are always preceded by that, and they're always set up as you see it right here. Now we're going to go ahead and real quick take a quick look at the compiler directive. So in order to do that, I'll go ahead and come up here to Help and Index so that we can get a list of all of those compiler directives. So I'll make sure that the index is filtered out here by Fujitsu NetCOBOL for .NET version 3.1, and then I'll go ahead and put in their compiler. And then as you can see, back up just a little bit, you can see COBOL directive details. I'll just double click on that one, and what will be presented here to you is a list of all of the compiler directives. So I expect right now you're wondering, what the heck happened to my property windows? Well, the good news is it's still here. It's just in another tab, and if you want to see that, we'll just click on that, and as you can see, the properties windows is right there. So again, all of your compiler directives go right here in the additional options. Now on the output path, basically the output path is associated with a various configuration. As you saw me go over here to release mode, I have a bin/release. If I go back up here to active debug mode, it has bin/debug. And of course I can place this anywhere I want. And of course I can have my debug information put in there. I can also generate listing files. Now let's go ahead and take a look at build events. Build events are a pretty powerful feature inside of Visual Studio. You can have pre-build and post-build events. Pre-build events, an example would be maybe you want to go ahead and produce a backup of your files before the build happens, or make a copy somewhere or something like that. A post-build event would be maybe you would want to take your assemblies and move them off to a test server, or copy them off to a test server or something like that. You can also, on post-build event, you can also basically say the post-build event should happen whenever you have a successful build, or always, or when the build updates the project output. I like to set mine up on successful build. I personally see no reason to do anything other than move anything around or do anything when I have a build that may not be successful or something like that. So only time I ever fire off a post-build event is when I've had a successful build. Let's go ahead and go on to debug. And again, with debug, you can basically set up your configuration or specify a specific configuration, specify a particular platform, and then of course determine what the behavior of the debugger is going to be by using a start program basically start with a project or start with an external program that makes a call to this project, and the debugger will automatically fire off, and then when it gets that call from that other project or that other program, it will actually step through your source code with the debugger. So there's a couple of different behaviors using the debugger that are kind of cool and very, very, basically makes debugging your application very, very flexible and very, very powerful. So let's go ahead and look at the copybook paths here. That's the next one that I want to take a quick look at. As I said before, I have a personal preference about copybooks. I think that copybook libraries are real important. I personally don't like to have to be bothered by figuring out what copybook belongs to which program or whatever. So I basically stick all of my copybooks in a copybook library and then kind of point to it. So in order to do that, I'm going to quickly show you how to get this to work. Again, you can have your cursor positioned in the folder field right here and come over here to this little dot 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 and hit that button, and again you can come over here and point this to whatever location that you want. I've got a copy live set up here, and I'll just go ahead and say OK, and then at this particular point you have to go ahead and add this folder to your copybook paths for the user or for the project. I'm going to go ahead and click on add that there, and again you can have multiple copybooks in here, and the order that the copybooks get searched can be adjusted. So if I had a bunch of these, I could move a given copybook up or down in the search order and basically have those copybooks searched in a very particular way. You can also do the same way with copybook paths for the project itself. If I wanted to get rid of a particular copybook, I can just highlight it like it is right here and click this X, and then the copybook is all done. Okay, so what I want to do is I have made a few changes in here. I do want to go ahead and save them. Notice that the asterisk up here represents the fact that I have made changes to this file, so I can right mouse click and then just say save selected items, and then of course I can just go ahead and click X to close up this window.